The year is 1812. Across the vast, wild frontier that separates the United States and British North America, what we now call Canada, a great storm is brewing. It is a storm made not of wind or rain, but of politics, pride, territory, and survival. A storm that will reshape the destinies of two nations. Tension between the young United States and the British Empire has been rising for years. British warships stop American vessels on the high seas, capturing sailors for their own navy. To many in the United States, this is an insult to national honor, an act that cannot go unanswered. At the same time, indigenous nations throughout the Great Lakes region face growing pressure from American expansion. Many of them, including the Shawnee, turn toward the British in Canada for support. Their lands, their culture, and their future are all at stake. Across the border, soldiers patrol muddy paths in the rain, sensing that conflict is coming. What they do not know is that the spark will be lit very soon. In Washington, the U.S. Congress meets in a heated session. Arguments erupt across the chamber as a thunderstorm rages outside. Finally, on June 18, 1812, the United States declares war on Britain. The decision echoes across the continent. In Upper Canada, militia officers scramble to prepare. They are outnumbered and undersupplied. Many are farmers, shopkeepers, and ordinary settlers, hardly professional soldiers. But they carry a fierce determination to defend their land. Amid this tension, two remarkable leaders meet under the cover of a rain-soaked forest. General Isaac Brock, the brilliant and daring commander of the British forces in Upper Canada, and Tecumseh, the legendary Shawnee warrior and visionary who dreams of a united indigenous confederacy. Together, they form an alliance built on mutual respect and trust. Brock admires Tecumseh's strategic genius. Tecumseh respects Brock's courage and integrity. Their partnership will become one of the most powerful and iconic alliances in North American history. By late summer, they move toward the American-held Fort Detroit. The weather is harsh, with storms sweeping across the frontier. But for Brock and Tecumseh, the rain becomes a weapon, masking their movements, concealing their numbers. Inside Fort Detroit, General William Hull is uncertain and overwhelmed. Rumors of vast indigenous forces, combined with the sight of British troops advancing through fog and rain, break his confidence. He fears a massacre if he resists. Then, in a stunning twist, Hull surrenders the fort without a major battle. The American flag is lowered. Detroit falls into British hands. It is a humiliating defeat for the United States and a triumphant victory for Brock, Tecumseh, and Canada. But the war is far from over. Along the Niagara frontier, the fighting intensifies. The Americans launch repeated invasions, hoping to strike deep into Canadian territory. What follows is a brutal series of battles: Queenston Heights, Fort George, Stony Creek, and others, each marked by chaos, courage, and enormous sacrifice. At Queenston Heights, British and Canadian forces fight desperately to hold the high ground. Isaac Brock personally leads a charge up the slope, rallying his men with legendary bravery. But during the fighting, he is struck and killed. His death sends shockwaves across Canada. Brock becomes an instant national hero, a symbol of sacrifice and leadership. Yet, even in grief, Canadian and Indigenous forces continue the struggle. Meanwhile, Tecumseh remains a central figure in the war. In 1813, he faces a decisive battle along the Thames River. Outnumbered and with fading British support, He chooses to stand and fight. It will be his final stand. Tecumseh's death marks the end of the dream of an indigenous confederacy that could resist American expansion. For the indigenous peoples of the region, it is a profound and devastating loss. In the same year, American forces capture and burn the city of York, modern-day Toronto. Buildings burn, libraries are destroyed, and civilians flee in terror. The act leaves deep scars on the Canadian population. But the British will answer. In 1814, British troops march into Washington, D.C. There they burn the Capitol, the Treasury, and the President's residence, later known as the White House. Flames rise into the stormy night sky, illuminating the Capitol. It is the only time in American history that the nation's capital is overtaken and burned by a foreign power. The message is clear. Canada and Britain will not be conquered. By late 1814, both sides are exhausted. Neither has achieved a decisive victory. On December 24th, in the city of Ghent, a treaty is signed. The War of 1812 comes to an end. No land is exchanged. The borders remain almost exactly as they were before the war. But something far more important has changed. For Canadians, the war becomes a defining moment, a story of resilience, unity, and identity. For Americans, it becomes a symbol of national pride